everyone, how are you all doing? I hope you've had a great day, because today we'll be taking a look at one of my favourite fanboys of all time. It isn't Harmon Smith, he's the Chris Chan of fanboys. We'll be taking a look at Dreamcastguy. And I thought I would make this video and try to release it before Spider-Man 2's release, so then we get all that time to make fun of Xbox fanboys. Don't worry, both PlayStation and Xbox fanboys are gonna have to live with a 90 on Metacritic for the time being until its release, 2 or 3 days from now? So for the time being, we'll let the Xbox fanboys cook. But now, let's get back to Dreamcastguy and his absolutely amazing video. And you know, we're gonna first take a look at his like to dislike ratio to show you how many people agreed with him and disagreed with him on this video, because it's going to be really noticeable this time around. And as you can see, it is incredibly noticeable, all because he tried to move the goalpost during this video, and you're going to see that in this video. But let's have a look at his title. Xbox buys Activision Blizzard. The Microsoft deal is done. It is pretty funny that you got that dislike ratio, because the entire year, you went through and said to everyone that this deal will not go through. It is very unlikely, and look how that came back to bite you in the ass.
What's up, gamers? Dreamcastguy here, talking today about the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal, because it is now officially done. It is completely finished. As of about 10 minutes ago, officially, Microsoft owns Call of Duty and World of Warcraft and Diablo, and is now going to put it in their cabinet with all the other game studios they've bought, like Rare and Doom and freaking everything else like Skyrim. But I want to discuss this because in this instant fallout, it does feel like a lot of gamers are debating whether this deal is going to be good or bad.
Why are you asking this question now? Out of all the time you could pick, as soon as the acquisition is done, now people are asking questions whether or not it's going to be good or bad. You have had the last year, 2 years to look at this deal and say to yourself, or come to a conclusion, whether or not it's going to be good or bad. You had the perfect chance to ask that question when the FTC and CMA were going at Microsoft over this acquisition, but no, you're choosing now over then, because it benefits any argument you may hold in this video, and it goes to show why people don't like this video at all.
In the long run, let's discuss. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. But here, the instant thing that's just kind of crazy is to try and actually grasp the scope of this. Microsoft just purchased Activision Blizzard, King, the development studios that make stuff like Call of Duty, Overwatch, Diablo, Candy Crush, Crash Bandicoot, Guitar Hero, and much, much more.
I thought that was pretty obvious, Dreamcastguy, when talking about Activision Blizzard, that these games are going to be exclusive to Xbox. I think most of the older installments to these franchises that were previously on PlayStation will stay on PlayStation. But if they choose to revive or add a new installment to any of these games, they won't be on PlayStation. I think that was pretty obvious from the get-go what they were going to do. I don't know why you're acting so surprised. It's almost getting surprised that when the sun's up, it's daytime. It's such an obvious concept, I think anyone can understand.
I mean, even Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, the sheer size of this acquisition cannot be understated. And
I wonder why they cost $70 billion, Dreamcastguy. There must be a good reason why.
I'll be honest, I wasn't sure this deal would actually get done. When they initially announced this buyout in January of 2022, it seemed pretty open and shut. I mean, they said they were going to buy it for $69 billion. I thought they would just walk up with a briefcase full of cash and do it. But instead, this acquisition was slowed down by 20 months of regulator battles, both here in the United States with the FTC and obviously the CMA in the UK. For a lot of this year, I've said this in videos, I was actually pretty sure the deal would get blocked, or
at first I was pretty certain when they first started coming after Microsoft over this acquisition, it would get blocked. But then I realized it's Microsoft, and they're going to throw as much money at some lawyers to get this done as possible, because it's Activision Blizzard. If Phil didn't get that, he would probably be losing his job right now. And I know there's going to be someone in the comments that's going to say, no, Phil would have never lost his job. I mean, just look at Jim Ryan as a fine example of someone that lost his job for not getting this acquisition blocked. And with that knowledge at our hands, I really do wonder what would have happened to Phil Spencer if he did not get Activision Blizzard.
I was kind of assuming that because of these crazy long battles, I thought that maybe they would break it into chunks. I thought maybe that Microsoft would end up buying Call of Duty and leaving behind Blizzard. In fact, that was the main thing that was being talked about by lawyers in court.
I don't think I've ever seen one lawyer ever mention that, because if anyone ever mentioned that, it would be brought up by a lot of people. And there is no instance where I would see Microsoft just wanting to get Call of Duty without getting the studios behind it, because they're going to need those studios if they want to keep up the consistent rate of Call of Duty releases on their platform, because there is no way in hell Microsoft would be able to pull off something like that, because Microsoft, as you can see with some of their exclusives, aren't really the sharpest tools in the shed. And why would Microsoft want to leave away such a big part of the company that actually wanted to be bought entirely? Because I'm sure when Microsoft was looking at Activision Blizzard King, they looked at the mobile market and then looked at Call of Duty. The mobile probably comes first, as that probably makes billions upon billions more dollars than anything Call of Duty ever will. And that's not me saying that Call of Duty does not make money. It makes a lot of money, just nothing compared to the mobile market.
But they did manage to make some concessions and get this all done, which officially makes Microsoft the third largest gaming company in the world, right behind Tencent. Yay, Tencent. Don't we love the fact that some giant mega conglomerate is just buying up game studios?
Wait a minute, something isn't right here. I have to check something. It says Microsoft is in third place. Give me a second. So you're telling me Microsoft in third place is a monopoly, but Sony in first place isn't? How does your logic even work anymore? You fanboys were sitting there constantly saying that Microsoft is a monopoly if they get Activision Blizzard, but yet Sony is somehow bigger than them and not classified as a monopoly. Are you fanboys special? Are you stupid? Do you not know how a monopoly works in the gaming industry? A monopoly implies that they have majority or overwhelmingly all the control in an industry. You know, maybe we need to give Microsoft some credit where credit's due. Somehow they are in third place, but somehow a monopoly. And you know, the more I think about this argument a little bit longer that fanboys made up, they always made fun of Microsoft for being in third place and somehow accuse them of being a monopoly if they get Activision Blizzard. I can see why this video has so many dislikes now. I can see why everyone dislikes Dreamcastguy's new video, because he's either moving the goalpost or straight up lying to fit his own narrative. All you had to do, Dreamcastguy, was proofread your video, look at what you were reading, and add some context to it to get a better understanding of the situation. And you must wonder to yourself why you got so many dislikes for this video, why people don't agree with your opinion, because as soon as you talk about a subject, it shows that you have done no research.
Okay, so let's talk about this, because some people initially are very much celebrating. People are happy because in the short term, this is truly fantastic for Xbox Game Pass.
I wonder how you're going to spin this into a bad thing. What are they going to do? Make us pay more money for Game Pass? They've already done that. Or, on my hypothetical scenario, if I pay the $15 to $20 for Game Pass, I'm secretly funding a Somali warlord. I mean, I wouldn't mind doing that. You know, maybe he's going to get more out of that money than I will.
The sheer amount of stuff that's about to get added to Game Pass is absolutely insane. And I'll be honest, I have Game Pass. I'm going to play the heck out of a lot of these. I'm going to enjoy the heck out of a lot of these. But I'm a little bit concerned about the long-term ramifications of it, because we are talking about the consolidation wars.
If you were to give me a choice between Sony or Facebook, I would pick Sony 100% of the time, because at least I know how Sony is going to treat me, and I know what to expect from them as a company. Plus, they already have experience in the gaming industry. I wouldn't have much faith in a company that has no experience.
Bobby Kotick is still going to be in charge, and obviously he's a jerk, but people are talking about the fact that, is this a monopolization of the industry? Microsoft has literally trillions of dollars, and they've talked about having so much money.
Dreamcastguy, Microsoft being in third place does not make them a monopoly. To be classed as a monopoly, they need to have majority control over everyone else. They need to be at the top, not third place. What is so hard for any of you to understand this? It's almost like none of you actually understand what a monopoly is, and just throw the word out there when you don't get something that doesn't go your way.
Microsoft has also admitted that they are not profitable. Xbox has pretty much never really been in the green. They're always losing money. They're just buying studios because they're hoping that eventually it makes money.
If Microsoft was not profitable, Dreamcastguy, they would not be throwing out money, like to Activision Blizzard, for $70 billion. That's a lot of money to throw out if you're not profitable. And if Microsoft is not profitable, they would have a very limited time to make stuff change for their company and their business strategy. They would go third party and start producing consoles to save money. But have we seen any signs of Microsoft wanting to move away from the console space and give up their position? There's only one thing Phil Spencer said, and that was about Game Pass, and that is it. But everything else seems to be running smoothly for them, even in their third place position.
And the reason that makes me nervous is because as big as Call of Duty is, as big as World of Warcraft and Diablo are and stuff like that, I am concerned that their size, their unwieldiness of these studios are what are going to cause Microsoft to possibly start doing mass firings.
So now you mention the fact that developers are going to get removed from the company. Talk about moving the goalpost, Dreamcast guy. To my knowledge, not once in your previous videos did you ever talk about what would happen to these developers. Especially for someone that covers gaming news like you, it's pretty common to see developers after acquisitions, especially those from HR and QA, to get laid off, as they're not necessary. You only need one, not two different groups. I really do wonder what will be the next thing you are going to cry about in this video.
Now, I'm recording this on Friday the 13th in October. I'm just time stamping this because I'm 99.9% sure this is going to happen next year, so consider this my crystal ball moment. These companies typically end up buying studios and then firing a bunch of people. Epic Games just did it.
Like I said, as much as we don't like it, it is incredibly common practice to get rid of those who are unnecessary to either a new business model or in the company. Personally, in a perfect world, I would like to see those developers moved around into other positions. But sadly, that's not how the world works. This is why you should always have a backup plan in the back of your head on what you're going to do if this scenario ever happens.
Obviously, laying off a bunch of people at Mediatronic, firing everybody who made Fall Guys. I mean, this stuff happens constantly. In fact...
So why did you even bother bringing it up in the first place, Dreamcast guy? If you knew that this was already going to happen, and that you already knew that this was common practice, why did you even bother?
Now, this is not me attacking Activision Blizzard. Activision Blizzard is doing their best. I think Activision Blizzard, despite their faults, is trying to make good games. I'm also not saying that Microsoft sucks or is dumb.
Don't lie, Dreamcast guy. We all know you want to say that about Microsoft. There's no need to hide it.
I'm saying that companies like this, when you start getting out flow charts this massive, a lot of times it starts end up looking like too much bloat. Companies like this acquire stuff because the brands are valuable and not the people. Now, obviously, you and I are gamers. We don't care about flow charts. We don't care about profitability margins. We want good games. I'm afraid that when big companies buy stuff out, in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, if it's not instantly turning in a good amount of profit, they start to trim the fat and fire the heck out of the real human people making games.
Well, let's hope that Activision Blizzard makes a lot of money, so in your words, they don't trim the fat.
That's kind of my concern when it comes to consolidation. It's not about a lack of competition. It's not about, oh, they have exclusives that won't be on my PC or my PlayStation or my Nintendo Switch.
So if you don't care if that one company gets something over the other, why did you care so much about this deal being blocked then? That really does seem like someone that actually does care that their company doesn't get a game. It also doesn't help that most of you fanboys were constantly preaching that this acquisition is a monopoly over the gaming industry, when in reality, it never was.
My thought is that I do think that this is going to lead to firings. Microsoft has already done a big set of firings last year when they fired a bunch of people working on Halo.
Good, they deserved it. Look at the quality that Halo Infinite is right now, compared to what we could have got if they were to stay in that position. Honestly, I am really thankful that those people got fired from 343. If this is the content that we should expect and what they did within like 2 or 3 seasons, I can't wait to see what the future Halo games will have in store for us.
Oh, and they even fired some testers for Starfield and stuff like that. This company is just so many thousands and thousands of employees that even when they fire 5%, that's hundreds of people that are working on games getting laid off. But okay, even beyond that, here is the reason I'm still not exactly super thrilled about this. It's not even directly because of the Microsoft deal. It's because now I think it's showing other companies that you can just buy a chunk of the game industry.
No, this is not showing anyone that you can buy a chunk of the gaming industry. You could always do that all the time. Whenever you wanted, you just needed to have the money. The reason why most companies didn't is that gaming wasn't really seen as a profitable avenue for quite some time until now. Because the gaming industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry now. And a lot of these outside companies like Facebook, Amazon, and many of these other big companies that are inside the tech industry but not in the gaming are now coming in and realizing we can make a lot more money out of this. And do you know what the most easiest way is to get into the gaming industry? It's not creating your own studio and your own IP, it's buying a studio and buying an IP. If you get those two things and they can work together pretty well, you've got yourself a pretty good multi-million-dollar moneymaker.
In fact, Disney is kicking around the idea of buying Electronic Arts, which very obviously most people are not thrilled about.
Good luck with that, Disney. You're not really in the most financially safe position to actually make an acquisition like that, so I'm not too worried about that.
Disney sucks.
Finally, Dreamcast guy, we can agree upon one thing, and that one thing is that Disney absolutely sucks.
These big outside studios just buying everything up. A lot of Xbox people love it when Microsoft buys everything. In fact, I'm sure there's a lot of comments on this video of people happy that Microsoft is just buying up every studio they possibly can. But
yes, I can verify this. A lot of Xbox fanboys are in the comment section making fun of him, along with a lot of reasonable people making fun of Dreamcast guy, as usual.
I think I'm in a spot where I'm concerned about what this means in 10 years, but in the short term, what can you do?
There's not much we can do. The best we can do is sit back, watch as these fanboys from different communities cry over their company not performing as well or doing something that another company may have already done in the past. So the best we can do is sit here and watch. So I'm going to leave the Dreamcast guy video here, as he's pretty much done talking about this entire problem entirely. He just rambles on about Disney. So with all that being said, leave a like, subscribe, become a member, goodbye.